welcome back to the third installment of our series on the Ultimate 2025 Springbok side. Andre Pretorius and myself discuss each position in the Springbok side, starting with fullback, and we discuss the criteria that's required of a player in that position and how much each of those criteria weigh, how important each of those criteria are. In this specific video, we're going to be discussing the criteria alone, and in the second video, we're going to be discussing the candidates separately this week. So without any further ado, welcome back, Andre.
Hi, Envia. Good to be back. We're covering a very important position with regards to Springbok Rugby, and that's the number 13 jersey. We all know in the past that when we've had good 12 and 13 combinations, the Springboks have been quite successful.
Yeah, especially under Jacques Nienaber, the blitz defense. Jesse Kriel stepped up big time when Lukani Arm got a bit injured, and then that's been his position ever since. Has anything changed for you?
Not really, NBA. Not from what I'm seeing at the moment with him. He's playing good rugby in Japan, but also just the videos that I've analysed with the Springboks this year, he's gone a couple of steps ahead of everybody, and it's because he had time in the jersey. Time in the seat makes a difference, but he's just so durable. You know, he tends to be available for all the matches. He racks up the minutes, and obviously with a lot of repetition, you iron out most of your mistakes and you become really consistent, and that's what he is at the moment.
Yeah, that's a good point that you mentioned videos, because we thought about this a little bit, and we thought there's an old saying that says show them, don't tell them, and you've put together a couple of videos for us again, like you've done in the past, to show us what a Springbok outside centre should be doing and what he should be good at. That's the first thing. So you're going to actually physically illustrate to us what they should be doing. Let's just talk about the criteria that we're going to be using this week. Like we said, we now ask for inputs from all our various contributors, and you've come up with a new set of criteria specifically for the outside centre. Tell us about that.
Well, I try and get as close as possible to what's relevant for each jersey. And we're looking at our 13 being a defense general. He's got to be an attacking threat. Good rugby IQ is needed. And then obviously a big work rate. When you play in a Springbok jersey, when you play at international level, a big work rate is needed. So those will be our 4 categories going forward.
Just on the rugby IQ, we didn't bring it in any of the previous positions we discussed. Why is it so pertinent in this position specifically?
I think when I had a look at what's important for the Springbok 13, the one thing that came up was he's continuously making decisions. And not that other positions aren't, but his decisions has a lot more bearing on results and events happening in the game, and the importance of events happening in the game. So, you know, I think Harry put it perfectly. They have a lock that misses a couple of lineouts or he makes a couple of mistakes. That goes down the drain and they go and scrum, etc. But most of the time, when a 13 makes a crucial mistake, it leads to a try. It leads to you standing behind your post and you're 5 points down. So the decision making is a lot more important. And again, I'm not saying, you know, for the 15 and the 14, the decision making is not important. I just found when I was going through the criteria, the amount of decisions they have to make and make it on their own, it's I think the rugby IQ is important. So they need to work on both sides of the ball. They need to know what type of attack is important and when it's important. And the same with the defense, which is probably more important in a Springbok jersey.
Now let's start with the defensive general. You said he has to be a defensive general, and that's quite a wide term. The boss in the back line, the guy who decides what's going to happen. And just briefly, the Springbok defense that you've referred to, the so-called blitz defense, just explain to us briefly what that means and how important that. But you said it's important, but exactly what is his duty? What are his duties?
The blitz defense has taken a couple of forms on in the last couple of years. You know, you get teams that have got a connected blitz that's just everybody's staying together, but they come off the line a lot quicker than a normal up and out defense. Then you get the blitz defense that's just rushing. A couple of years ago, Montpellier, if they were 5-on-2, only 2 defenders, they'd still blitz. You know, it's blitz at all costs. But the blitz defense of the box is kind of more an umbrella defense where your 13, your wings have got license to go in behind the line and close up shop for the attack. And what that means is that they get given freedom to make reads and trust those reads and then get get in behind the line and make the tackles. Now, we've been saved a couple of times, and you'll see some of the videos that I'm going to show, where teams have got 3-4 players on the outside with big space, and the 13 cuts it off. He prevents the ball from getting there. That's the idea. What it also does is it puts that out the back player, it puts his skill set under pressure. So now there is space, there are numbers, but he needs to get the ball there with someone rushing onto him. And a lot of times that's a difficult pass to make. So I think in essence our blitz defense is more a pressure defense from the outside, and we want to kind of cut off the passes 2 and 3, prevent them from getting 3 passes and going wide.
Right, let's get to the videos. I'm quite excited about that. We're going to start with the defensive general side of it. The defense, what have you got for us?
Defense general, if you look at our 13s at the moment, they're all physical. They need to be physical, and I don't think physicality in the manner that we talk about it as the number 12, but guys who can make dominant hits and who can be very aggressive and create chaos at rucks in the wide channels. Smart and understand, know when to, like we spoke about, when to shut, when to hold, when to defend out or switch. And the last one is just post-tackle pressure, ensuring that you can cause chaos at the ruck, get your forwards in position again to get set for the defense and be ready for that next one. The wide channel tackling is so important, but that second effort, getting up, and that second action, getting into the ruck, causing chaos, ensuring that you get set is just as important. All right, Embia, here's the first one. Now, as I spoke to you, like I spoke to you earlier, there will be times when you'll give them numbers, you'll give them space, but you'll cut them off. And this is a great example of that. Now, this is the Yokohama Eagles versus D-Rocks in Japan. And I know it's going to seem like a Jesse Creel masterclass, but Jesse had a great game, and a lot of the things that we spoke about, or we are going to speak about in the categories, will be shown in this. So, ball goes wide, and there you'll see Jesse's on the corner, and he's got 3 players on his outside with really big space to cover there. Now, what he does is he shoots out the line, closes that space, and while that ball is in the air, all of these players can chase across and cover that space.
So he prevented that pass from happening, and they were forced to kick, basically.
He got into the eye line of the 10. He knew if he passed that ball to Karevi, he makes that tackle. He's got to go through the air, and that gives them an opportunity to make the tackle and shut that down. Now, if you look at it from the start, you would say that Yamaha they've got problems here.
Yamaha's the yellow team.
Yamaha is the red team. I'm sorry. Yeah. So if you look at that space outside, numbers outside, Jesse shuts it down. They have to find an alternative to getting a ball wide. They kick it, and they shut that down. So that's the first example I have of a 13 shutting down wide play, even though he's down on numbers and big space next to him. Next one, pretty similar, probably a better example. Again, you can see Jesse there. He's on the corner. And look at the amount of numbers D-Rocks have if that ball goes out the back. So what will happen is, if that ball goes out the back, this will be a hard line. This player here will have to bite in, which leaves Jesse on 10 and the rest of these players. And what he does, he goes into that space, he shuts down the outside, and the tackle's made right there.
I saw the arms as well. That's part of it.
Exactly. So he's trying to make himself bigger. But if I showed you that picture, and people had to bet money on, who's in trouble here, they would say that there's no way the yellow doesn't score from here, or at least get into the 22. And like you can see, he gets in the path, no bridge pass. He's got this man covered, and they shut that down. And that's part of his job. He needs to cut down wide plays, even though the opponents have got numbers over them. So those are two really good examples of what to do. Now, the next one, now, Lorenzo Julius is a fantastic player. This is and this is one of the things that he's probably going to have to work on if he wants to be a box starter or a consistent box performer, is how to cover that outside space. So in this, you can see him on the edge here. Also, Zebra has got numbers. Now, if you think about the videos I've just shown, Willie probably gets to that. Jesse probably gets to that man.
He's jogging.
He's jogging. He's not. So he's taken up all that space. They get the ball past him, and now he's chasing back. So he's gone all the way from up here, jogging to there, and now he's chasing. Whereas if he'd sprint back or sprint down the field, close that space early, they don't get this pass away, and he shuts that down, and they win all those meters. Now they're in trouble. Put the ball out the back. Mapimpi has to come in, and they got caught at the back. Right, Mbia, so I hope that makes sense on the importance of the 13 and how they have to close up attack shop and prevent the ball from getting wide. But that's not where their job stops. Once they get into tackles and they are in tackle situations, you want your 13 to be robust, aggressive, and cause chaos at rucks. And again, you'll see Jesse in the edge there. They get the offload away. As the ball goes down, he's in on the ball. He gets that ruck pressure and he slows the ball down. And it needs to come natural because it's in the wide areas. You want that ball to be as slow as possible so that you can get your defense on their feet and set for that next one, because this is the position that most defenses want the attack to get into so that you can get off the line. So we've showed one where Lorenzo Julius got it wrong, and with this wide channel tackling and the second action getting onto the rucks, this is a great example of what you want your 13 to do in those wide channels. So the first thing is you want to prevent that fend. See how he gets his arm over the fend, which means that once that fend comes in, he taps it down and he can successfully complete the tackle. Now, there's a lot of great fend or players that can have a great fend in the wide channel. So it's a skill that you have to master. You have to get the timing of when that fend's out, get your hand on top. You don't want to go outside because then you lose your shoulder. You want to come from the top down, and then you get into your tackle. He does that perfectly. He completes the tackle, but look at the second action now, India. As he drops back, he's up, and now he's getting wide ruck pressure. You'll see in the next, see how slow that ball is. Defense is set, and now you get into your next defensive set.
What is wide ruck pressure that you refer to there?
So it's because it's a ruck in the wide channels. Because it's wide ruck, it's a wide ruck, and there's a lot of backs involved. What happens a lot of times, some of the backs stand out or the cleaning's not as effective. And if you can get some pressure on that ruck, sometimes you turn the ball over or you just slow it down like we just saw, and you get your defense set for the next one.
Well, so that's the defensive side where he needs to be a general. But the other side of a center, he needs to be a good attacker. And there's a very interesting saying that you told me before we started recording. Talk to me about that one.
The 13 is the knife. He isn't the fork. He needs to cut. He needs to be able to make line breaks. And the video I'm going to show you of Jesse against Santori is exactly what I mean. So again, Mbia, I apologize that it's only clips from Jesse, but he's done so many good things in this game that's relevant to what we're speaking about. It's just so easy to use the clips that he provided.
Jesse is the gold standard, Andre. What can we say? I mean, there's no denying it. So that's what everybody should aspire to, I think.
That's true. And he's worked hard at his game. There's a reason why he's one of the best in the world at the moment. And, it's good to see him perform the way he does. So we've got a 6-man line out, 9 in front, forward at 9. Played off the top, out the back. And the thing is, MVA, he doesn't just break the line, he scores. He goes and finishes it. if you look at the timing with which he hits this line, that's perfect. This defender didn't see him until he had the ball. And like I said, you get a lot of guys that break the line, but they don't finish it. He's got the ability to finish it.
Speed.
Superb try. Superb try. So that's the first thing. You need to be able to break the line, and that finish from Jesse, that's a bonus, but it's also a must. You need to be able to do that, and Jesse's got that for sure. On the next one is just, if you have an attacker like Jesse, you want him with ball in hand as much as possible. And with this one, you'll have a look. There's enough ruckers, balls available, keeps himself alive, and they can ask another question of the Suntory defense. So once that ball's available, he's there before 9, and have a look at how he fends off defenders, stays on his feet, giving these ruckers an opportunity to get to the ball before it gets stolen. And like I said, you want your guys like Jesse to get the ball as many times as possible to be an actual threat.
I like a good old pick and go.
Yeah, and I mean we've seen the legs on Jesse. I don't want to be the one to tackle him on the edges of rucks. Great example of Jesse again, just staying alive. Great decision to play the short ball. He gets an incomplete tackle, stays alive, and takes the ball further. He nearly scores off this one. So there's the pass, nice little short ball, incomplete tackle on him, didn't go to ground, stays alive, and he's back into the attack, asking another question of Suntory. I know a lot of players, Envia, that with this type of tackle, that'll go to ground. They'll go to ground and they'll try and milk something off the ref. Not Jesse. Stays on his feet, stays alive, and asks another question. It just shows you his mentality and his competitiveness and the way he plays the game, right? And then, it's good to be able to attack, keep the ball in hand, but someone needs to do the dirty work. And the 13, because he's not the 14, he's not the 12. He needs to look after balls in the wide rucks in the wide channels as well. So you'll see here, they've only got one rucker, not the biggest wing in the world. Ball goes in. Jesse over the ball secured. And this may look simple, but if Jesse doesn't go there now, there's no one sealing and securing that ball, which means that they lose it. So that's a big responsibility of a 13, is securing wide ruck ball and not switching off when the ball's gone past you. Right, last one on the attack. I think this is one the Bulls fans probably want to look away on in this game.
Post-traumatic stress disorder if I see this.
Especially you. High ball kick. Remember, Kane Moody got his hand positioning quite wrong on this one. They win the aerial battle. They won it a lot that night. Now this is the class of he gets into a double tackle, still gets the offload away, which is important in the wide channels to put pressure. Lorenzo Julius one-on-one, small space, eases past, puts on the afterburners, perfect timing on the pass, and then try time. Now, the reason this is so important, Envia, there's a lot of players, and especially if you think about Lorenzo, he's a young player, he's improving every game, he's making a name for himself. In some of these players and some of these situations, you get players that are looking to score this try themselves. There's a couple of players that I think would have tried to cut back into the inside or tried a little inside outside, but what he did was he got that pass. I would have still liked to have seen him pass it with two hands, but he got that timing of that pass perfect, even though it was just one hand.
So next up is work rate. I mean, well, every single one of these discussions we've had, work rate featured quite prominently. What's work rate? What does it mean for a center?
Well, the first thing is you want your center to be able to, especially your 13, to attack on both sides of the field, depending on your shape and your game model. And, you know, a lot of very attacking teams, you get their 13, their 15s, and their wings attack on both sides of the field, which makes defending them very, very difficult, especially if you're not winning collisions. The other part of work rate for centers, you don't want your two centers next to each other at wide rucks. So one of them's got to go and split and get to the other side. And then last one for me on this one is when you go and you close that space on the outside and they've set the ruck, they hit on the inside. Maybe your inside didn't follow up as they should. The catch-up was bad. Ruck's back there. How fast can you work back, get back into position for the next one? So work rate's an essential part for every rugby player, but for the 13, that sets you up for either good attack on the next phase or a good defensive set on the next phase. And surprise, surprise, it's Jesse again. It was amazing to see him play in this game. It was a good game of rugby, and like I said, he performed remarkably well. So what you're going to see in this video is Jesse being part of a play, and 2 phases later, he gets the ball again. And how he works himself into position and how effective he is. Have a look at how he still breaks the line, how he still gets the fend, even though it's the second time he's touched the ball in 4 phases. So off the first one, you'll see Jesse is the captain of play on this pod. Ball goes out the back, attacks into that seam. Now that looks like nothing, Envia, but if you look at what was in front of him, it's a yellow line, yet he still finds a way to make 5, 6, 7 meters and to keep the ball available. So that's one phase. In this time, Jesse is working himself around to play on this side of the field again. This is the second phase, and at the bottom of the screen, you'll pick up his back. So he's taken the ball up. 2 phases later, he's running an outside line off the forwards, and again, how physical he is, gets the ball back. And that's not an easy thing to do for physical players, because that physicality, carrying ball, leg drive, it takes a lot out of you, and it looks like that's his first carry of the match. Right, last clip for this one. Again, Jesse carrying the ball in the wide edge on the opposite side, 15. Ball's available. Again, 1. Second phase, hitting it up. And in this one, you'll see him rover himself around. And again, when he gets the ball, have a look at how effective he is in getting over the advantage line, stepping on the inside, getting that fend in. And again, 5, 6, 7 meters, ball available, quick ball. That is what you want from your Springbok center.
That was a masterclass in how to be a center, wasn't it?
I think so. I think that's exactly what you want from your center. It gives you attacking options. It gives you ruck security on the outside. He causes chaos in the rucks when he can. He puts ruck pressure. He stays alive on attack. You can't ask for a lot more.
Right, that's the end of part 1 of this discussion about outside centers. We understand now what's required of a Springbok outside center, how difficult it is. We've seen how good Jesse Crew is at it. So next up, we're going to be discussing the specific candidates that we've got in mind for the position in this our Ultimate 2025 Springbok side. And I can tell you right now, we're going to be starting with Jesse Crew. So look out for that video. It's coming up soon.